first 90 members formed the church. Well, as clerk of session,
I was very young, eager, scared. I had a crew cut, which probably was alarming to some people. But I rang doorbells up side streets and down other streets, and invited people who were interested to be part of a new church.
And I went to the door, and I did not know that he was a pastor, because a pastor with me, middle-aged pastors. He has a crew cut, and he didn't look like a minister at all.
We thought, oh my goodness, this young man is going to be our pastor. But it turned out that he had a wonderful outgoing personality, and we all fell in love with him, and that was the beginning.
The first 100 members of the church were really rare, exciting people willing to stick their necks out, and I think they had the spirit that this was going to be a fun chance of a lifetime to do something different, and we had a very special fellowship.
We were young and probably a little bit crazy, and we thought it would be exciting to start a new church, and we liked the people that had gathered to do it. And I guess we were, I have to say, we must have been led by the Spirit, because I don't think we could have done it on our own without that. And we settled on Robert Fryer, who was an architect from Baltimore. He had done churches in Baltimore. He'd also done the yacht club in Annapolis.
And he sat down with us and really listened to what we wanted. And we wanted a church that was open. We have no walls. We have glass looking out into the real world. The real world can look into us. We're not walled off from reality. And he captured that.
He used a lot of natural elements, stone and glass and wood.
The architect got his inspiration from Norwegian stave churches. And I always said we cut some corners because we didn't put elk horns around the edge of the roof.
I think we had a very vital congregation that wanted to follow Jesus.
We're all together starting this thing, and it was very satisfying to be able
Anticipated building
to do this.
A church.
we wanted to start a new church. Never had that experience. We didn't know we'd be around 50 years later, but here we are. That was the very beginning of the civil rights movement, and Jim let us know from the very beginning that he wanted to be involved, and so as we were working with him, we knew that's what he wanted. And
in 1963, the National Council of Churches asked me to do a voter registration drive in Canton, Mississippi. It was a very scary place, and I went.
Some of the church members left the church for that reason. And I was sad for that reason. I was very sad.
He actually marched in Selma with Martin Luther King, and we were very proud of him for doing that, because it was a dangerous thing to do.
And our pastor had taken the initiative to involve himself in Selma and actually voting rights in the Mississippi area. We had members of our church go down there and work on their behalf to help register
blacks in the community. Well, that was all recognized by our congregation that we were doing these things, and they were supportive of what our pastor was doing and what we were doing.
The church stood tall. I remember one member got up in church and said, "I'm so proud that my pastor went to Canton, Mississippi, because he went, I felt I was there too."
One of the first mission type things that we did was to work with the Scotland community over on Seven Locks Road, which was a little black community that was going to be taken over by developers.
Scotland community is one of the oldest communities in Maryland. They're the slaves of the old Magruder plantation. They've been there longer than almost anybody. In the mid-1960s, they were threatened by development.
They had homes and they lived in there, but they were going to be wiped out if we didn't do something. And we got together with the county government and the Park and Planning Commission and managed to save it, to save that community and give them a chance and get them water, get them sewer lines to serve that congregation that lived over there.
We ended up selling about 30 acres and saving 10, on which we developed 100 new homes. And it's still there. It was the first independent low-cost housing project in Montgomery County.
But the fact that mission started at home, like this village of Scotland, which was a black village from Civil War days, that we started to help those people gain ownership of the property they'd lived on since the Civil War, but had no.
The kids in our youth group were complaining that there was no place to go for fun. And we started exploring whether it would be some way we could have a place where the kids could come on Friday and Saturday night. And we started it, called the Coffee and Confusion. We had a lot more confusion than coffee. And within a couple of weeks, we were attracting hundreds of kids.
And it was a way of bringing in other families, because other children who were not involved with the church became involved with the coffee house.
I remember after this coffee house got started, it began to get a little rough, and I would find beer cans on the parking lot, and one time I found a refrigerator.
We had all sorts of talent in the church, and 50 years later, St. Mark still has all sorts of talent. That's been one of the things from day one that has been characteristic of Mark Church.
The church has meant a lot to me, in good times and bad. And,
St. Mark members have always been generous. They give, they're involved. They've supplied a lot of leadership of the Presbyterian in various committees, and I think that's special.
I think the spirit is still with us today that we started in the 60s.